Matt Miguez has plenty on his mind, and he's ready to share it with the world. It's time to hear the Miguez Mindset.
Welcome into another edition of the Miguez Mindset here on a Friday morning on ESPN Southwest Louisiana. The Louisiana Raging Cajuns 4-3 on the season. They hit the road to Mobile, Alabama to take on the South Alabama Jaguars tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Or 4 o'clock kickoff from Hancock Whitney Stadium. Joining me to preview that colossal matchup in the Sun Belt West is the voice of the Jags, Mr. JT Crabtree. JT, appreciate your time as always, my friend. How are you?
I'm good, buddy. Good to be talking with you. That means Jags and the Cajuns are matching up, so it's going to be a fun weekend.
That's always a good time. Over the last couple of years, whether it's been on the football field, the basketball court, or the baseball field, you and I have chopped it up, and it's a fun time every time. So once again, really appreciate you taking the time. Question number one that I have for you, though, JT, when you look at this South Alabama team, there were tons of expectations coming in after a historic season for the program last year. But, really probably not the start that Jags fans and probably the Jags coaching staff had envisioned. You fell to Tulane in week one, which was fair. Tulane won the Cotton Bowl a year ago. And then you bounce back with 2 wins, but then you fall to Central Michigan and James Madison. Just kind of walk me through the ups and downs of the season so far.
Yeah, the first couple of ball games definitely were just riddled with inconsistency. You look at the Tulane game, and like you mentioned, you go into it thinking and hoping too, okay, this is a program, Tulane, that did what we want to do. They went to the Cotton Bowl. They had the big win. They were top 10 ranked team last year as a group of 5. Like, that's what we want to do. And we go into it thinking, man, what a great opportunity to go to their place, and right after they just did what we want to do, we have an opportunity to kind of take it from them. And it didn't go our way. Michael Pratt, good grief, he's a heck of a quarterback out there. So they did their thing. We played inconsistent football, not very well. I mean, the second play of the game, we fumbled the football away, and that kind of set the tone. Then 2 weeks after that, we go to Oklahoma State and blow out the Cowboys. The final score might not have been a blowout, so to speak, but it was a dominating win. We led wire to wire. The closest it got was, I think, 16-7 or maybe 23-7, something like it was 23-7 was the closest that game ever got. And then the next week, we're back home. We're hosting Central Michigan. We handled them easily last year, and we're thinking, great, we've got an opportunity to come back home. We've got a good crowd. We had just under 19,000 for the Central Michigan game, which folks in Mobile, Alabama don't care about the Chippewas. They wanted to come see the Jags, which was really encouraging. And we laid an egg. We lost. It was our homecoming game. We played really bad fundamental football. We didn't tackle well. That's something that's never been an issue with us. We didn't tackle well. And so we dropped that game, and then we're playing James Madison, and we're thinking, okay, put that game behind you. You're opening conference play now, an opportunity to quickly right the ship, get going back in the right direction, and start off very slow, very sluggish. Really the difference in that ballgame was 3 explosive plays. 2 of them to the tight end, who really hadn't done a whole lot that year. Another a DB for us just read the play wrong, broke the wrong direction, left his guy open. And outside of that, we end up losing by 8 points. And still, as bad of a start as that game was, we had final possession with an opportunity to tie the ball game and just couldn't get it done. And so beyond that game, you go to ULM and you've got to win. You've got to put those games behind you. Got to get back in the win column and get something going the right direction. And for us, it was kind of a weird spot because we'd never won in Monroe before. Of all places, we'd never won in Malone Stadium. Went out there, handled our business just fine. And then our last game on a Tuesday against a regional rival, Southern Miss, really took it to them in all facets of the ballgame, winning 55-3. And so I think we're finally starting to see, I know it's the bottom teams in the conference that we defeated handily, but I think we're finally starting to see the consistency that we've been waiting for all season long. The defense has played lights out. I know everyone wants to talk about the 110 points we've scored over the last 2 ball games, but the defense has only allowed 10 points.
Correct.
The last 2 games as well. They've played pretty darn well. And so I think the defensive consistency that we're seeing is finally there. The offense is clicking on all cylinders. We know that we're a run-first team, so if LaDamian Webb can get going, He's gotten going the last couple of ball games, and he's healthy. He started off the season a little banged up, recovering from surgery, but he's healthy for the most part. Overall, we're pretty healthy right now. So I think we're finally seeing the Jags team we expected week 1. It just happens to be mid-October when they finally showed up.
So, you brought up the last 2 games, outscoring your opponents 110-10. Just domination on both sides of the ball, really. Was there something that happened within the program over the last couple of weeks where Kane Womack and his staff just kind of flipped the switch and, sparked something in this team?
Well, the ULM game, Coach had actually talked about it before. He'd circled that game because it was at Monroe, and we'd never won there. And he said, personally, my 2 worst coach games of my career came in Malone Stadium in 2016 as a defensive coordinator with us, and then 2021 as head coach with us. We played terrible in both games. We gave up a ton of points, games we should have won that we were blown out in. So he kind of took that game a little personal and said, I want to beat these guys pretty handily. And then the last game against Southern Miss, he's a Southern Miss alum.
Correct.
His dad, of course, with the ties with the state of Mississippi and Southern Miss. That game personal a little bit as well. And then I'm sure everyone's seen
Southern Miss brought in the billboards.
The post-game comments that he said about the billboards that he did not appreciate. And there's still some around town. So I'm sure their marketing team, Southern Miss, is quickly trying to get those down. But again, he took it personal. And it seems like the last 2 games, they've been personal victories for Kane Womack. And that's kind of helped light a fire under the guys as well. I know that obviously they've been disappointed the way we've started the season. And so to see the results kind of come together. But also a key thing, too, defensively, they've changed things up a little bit. We're a 4-2-5, and our 4th guy on the D-line is a stand-up edge rusher. Typically, say, on the edge. Now, that position played by Quentin Wilfon primarily has kind of floated in the middle of the defensive line. As still a stand-up guy, you'll see him as a kind of plug the A and the B gap, standing over the center of the guard, just trying to find a different matchup and kind of overwhelm some different holes where people maybe aren't necessarily expecting it. That's played a big dividend in how this defense has improved. And what I'm really curious on Saturday is going to be with Zeon Chris, how well he runs the football. How much are we going to see Quentin Wilfon or someone be a spy and just roam around in the middle of that defense? I think that's a big part of why we moved around, because mobile quarterbacks have given us fits all year long. And so moving Q around into the middle as kind of a spy and a different plug blitz guy, I think that's really been a big part of why this defense has played so well these last two couple of ball games.
So JT, looking at this game from the Cajuns' perspective, a lot of people have called this a revenge game for this team because last season South Alabama comes into Cajun Field. It's 7-7 at halftime. You guys rip off 10 straight points. The Cajuns come back, tie it up with less than a minute left, and then Carter Bradley marches down the field. You guys kick a walk-off field goal, win the game. So that has left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. Could this be looked at? I hate to use the term trap game, but could this kind of be a setup for an emotional letdown after the Jags have played the last 2 weeks?
And that's the question, man. You look at what we did with Oklahoma State, and man, I kept telling people if there was a cloud, people always say cloud 9. If there was a cloud 10, we were on that after Oklahoma State. And we come back home and say, oh, Central Michigan is homecoming. Yeah, we got this. We jumped out 14-0 and then laid an egg the rest of the ballgame. There's potential for that this week. We played so well. I think the key is that we know obviously how good the Cajuns are, but we know how close these games are and how physical they are from the last 2 years. And we know that there's going to be some chippiness, probably some extracurricular every now and then from both sides. Yep. It's football. It happens. And, people ask us, who's South Alabama's rival? Okay, it's Troy in football. Yes, 100% in-state. It's Southern Miss. They're 90 miles away from us, just across the state line. It's Louisiana, too, in just about every other sport. And it's starting to get there with football.
It's certainly there in baseball.
Yes, 100%. And so I'm really excited about the way this series has played out the last couple of years. I think it's where it should be at this point. You guys are always competitive in football. You're competitive in everything. And it's always, regardless of football, basketball, baseball, softball, doesn't matter the sport, these matchups are always super fun, down to the wire. We finally got one at Cajun Field last year, and I know the Cajuns are going to want to come back and get that one here. And look back at 21 as well. We had two opportunities within the 5 to take the lead, and we didn't get it done. And so it was a little poetic justice last year for Diego to redeem himself after missing a game-winning field goal the year before to get it last year. So it's kind of like now, okay, the decks are even. Who's going to come out on top now? It should be really fun.
Correct. Yeah, it should be a great game. Again, a 4:00 kickoff tomorrow from Hancock Whitney Stadium. Look, the storyline for me in this game, outside of what we just talked about, is the quarterbacks. Zion Chris for Louisiana, got Carter Bradley for South Alabama. Both teams have good running games as well and weapons out wide. Just kind of talk about both of these offenses and, the over-under. I don't remember what it's set at, but chances are could probably take the over.
Probably so. This is a Jags offense that obviously is clicking right now, and a Cajun offense that has been consistently one of the top offenses, not only in terms of running the football, but scoring the football too, the last couple of years in the Sun Belt Conference. And you look at what the Cajuns have done this year, just scoring the football consistently, getting to the 30-point mark. That seems to be the magic number for Coach Dez to get to those 30 points. And they've done it pretty consistently for the most part. And 30 is a big number for the Jags as well. So the big thing for us, for South Alabama, has been limiting explosive plays for the opponents. And I know that, maybe the chunk yards don't necessarily come in huge numbers for Zion, but just the plays that he makes, especially with his legs, when you need him the most, I think that's where it really kind of devastates you almost a little bit, is you get him to a 3rd and 8, and all of a sudden he takes off for 12 yards. Right. Or you get him to, something manageable, a 1st and 10 play, and then he hits you over the top for something.
Certainly.
It's the back and forth that he has offensively that really keeps you on your toes. And so that's what I'm going to be watching a lot. You mentioned the running game too. Gosh, I mean, you guys always seem to have a 3-headed monster at running back, and you've got 3 more guys that you rotate in there left and right. And so, I've been really impressed with Jacob Caboti. He's looked really, really strong. And what a cool story too, being a walk-on guy and then stepping up the way he has after transferring and being a scholarship guy. And one of the go-to guys in that offense has been a cool story to watch from the outside. So I'm really curious to see how that's going to play out. You guys are great at running the football, one of the best in the country. And then our offense goes when we're able to run the football. So who's going to win up front in the battle for the trenches and the ground game?
Right.
That's going to be huge for both sides.
The over-under is set at 55.
Cool.
So
okay.
Not going to offer people betting advice, but
sure.
The over sounds pretty promising there.
It's going to be a high octane game, regardless of what the outcome's going to be. There's going to be a lot of points scored here.
Yeah, certainly. JT, a couple more for you. I loved asking people the analyst coach speak question. But if the Jags want to be 5-3 and pick up a second straight win over Louisiana, what are the 3 things that have to happen for Kane Wommack's team?
Well, I'll sound like Coach. I'll give you the coach speaking answer because he's right. It's limiting the explosive plays offensively for you guys, especially Zion Chris, because everyone talks about his legs, but the kid can throw the ball pretty darn good as well. And so we need to play him honest. Yes, we got to worry about his legs. Not so much the designed run game for him, but the scramble plays where he gets outside of the box and makes things happen. Yep. That's going to be huge for us defensively to limit those plays, get off the field on 3rd down too. Don't turn the ball over. Will be the second thing. I guess we could say that for everybody, but we've had success these last 2 games because our only turnover, quote unquote, has been our freshman who has, the 4-game red shirt, throwing him out there. He tried to make kind of a hero play and just tried a little too much and threw a pick. You'll take that. And then 3rd is we the Jags. I know folks hate it when announcers say we, but I'm a South alum. I went here and I've been here since the beginning, so I feel like I can say we. But we've got to run the football. We've got to be able to run the football. We can throw it to Colin Lacey and Javon Ivory and Jamal Pritchett all we want in the wide receiver game. But if we don't run the football and if we don't run it with success, then the offense is going to go nowhere. And so I think those three things, limiting y'all's explosive plays offensively and containing Zeon Christ, getting the ball or keeping the ball rather in our hands, not turning the ball over, and then getting and establishing a running game for us offensively is really what this game for us, from our perspective, I think is what it's going to come down to.
All right, JT, give me a prediction. Who wins and by how much?
Well, of course I'm going to pick the Jags.
You should.
Yeah, I'm going to pick the Jags, of course, but I really think we're not going to see a blowout. I don't think that one way or the other from either side. I think this is going to be, you said it was 55 was the over under. I'm not a betting man, but I think we would be close to that number, if not over it, in the final result. But I'm hoping the Jags can continue it. Consistency has been our just hamstring for the existence of our football program. We've been really, really close. Look, last year, 10-win season. Great. Missed going to an undefeated regular season by a total of 5 points.
Right.
Missed being Tulane. Missed being that team in the Cotton Bowl by 5 points. Then go to the New Orleans Bowl and get blown out by Western Kentucky. Really close to doing something really cool, falling a little bit short. A win Saturday continues that trend of doing stuff really cool and getting to the position where we want to be, which hopefully at the end of the year, it's a Sun Belt Conference championship game and winning a bowl game. All that's still in front of us, but we got to take care of business Saturday.
JT Crabtree, the voice of the Jags, joining us here on the Miguez Mindset podcast. JT, I'll give you the opportunity to plug away the broadcast. Let our listeners know if they want to hear the South Alabama perspective, where they can find it.
Sure. Easiest way, probably usajaguars.com. We've got our listen links there. Our Jags radio network coverage starts 2 hours before kickoff. So you can find us on iHeartRadio as well. Search Jags and it'll pop up. So we'll start 2 hours before. We'll hopefully have some fun, and I'll be sure to give Jay Walker as hard of a time as possible before we get on the air.
Good old Jay Bird. That's going to do it for another edition of the Miguez Mindset. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at ESPN Southwest Louisiana. Also, go follow us on social media at ESPN_SWLA, and we'll be back on Monday recapping the weekend. Can the Cajuns overcome the Jags, and can the New Orleans Saints finally look good for once? We'll talk about that on Monday right here on the Miguez Mindset.